Imagine a little girl so poor she barely has enough to eat. Yet, while scavenging through the trash heaps to survive, she hears the faint cry of an abandoned baby. With nothing but courage and love in her heart, she scoops the child into her arms. She wraps her in a torn cloth, cradles her as best as she can, and vows silently that no harm will come to this tiny, helpless life. What Ayomide didn't know was that this baby held a secret. She was not just any abandoned child. She was the lost daughter of one of the wealthiest men in the country, a child whose disappearance had shaken boardrooms and mansions, whose every movement was now being sought by those with power and money. Ayomide lived with her mother in a makeshift shack on the outskirts of Lagos, built precariously over swampy land. The roof was rusted zinc, the walls patched with old plywood and plastic sheets. Her mother earned barely enough from washing clothes in nearby homes, collecting $5 a month, a sum anyone else would laugh at. For them, it was the difference between eating or going hungry. Each day, Ayomide would rise before the sun, stepping carefully over puddles of stagnant water and broken glass, weaving through crowded streets filled with vendors, cars, and stray animals. She picked through rubbish bins, searching for scraps of food or anything that could be sold to survive. The city seemed indifferent to her suffering, moving quickly, people passing by without a glance, as if she were invisible. Yet, in the midst of this hardship, Ayomide possessed a spirit that refused to be crushed. She would hum quietly as she worked, imagining herself in places far from the stench and grime. She dreamed of schools, clean houses, and the taste of a full meal, but most of all, she dreamed of safety, for herself, and now, for the fragile life she held in her arms. The baby's cries had led her to a corner of an alley she had never dared enter before. The darkness here was nearly complete, save for the dim light of a flickering street lamp. Ayomide's small hands trembled as she reached out, but something inside urged her forward. She found the infant lying on a piece of cardboard, shivering, wrapped in nothing but a thin, torn blanket. The baby's eyes were closed, lips quivering with each weak cry. Without hesitation, Ayomide gathered the child close, whispering soothing words she had learned from her mother. She thought about the dangers, thieves, stray dogs, police, but the baby's fragile life outweighed all fears. Ayomide made her way home slowly, taking care not to trip in the uneven, muddy path. At home, her mother initially scolded her for bringing more trouble into their already dire lives. But when she saw the baby's pale face, she softened, offering the little food they had. Ayomide cleaned the baby as best she could, wrapping her in an old blanket and singing lullabies learned from her mother's own struggles. Days passed, and the bond between Ayomide and the baby grew stronger. She named her Ayomide, meaning hope, for in Ayomide, she felt a new purpose. Feeding her, bathing her, keeping her warm, it was exhausting work, but Ayomide felt a strange joy she had never known. Every night, she would look at Ayomide and think about what life had in store for her. What neither Ayomide nor her mother realized was that the baby was more than just a lost child. Ayomide carried a necklace, delicate and unusual, partially hidden under her tiny blanket. It shimmered faintly in the dim light, a piece of jewelry no ordinary child would possess. The kind of thing a billionaire would recognize immediately. Meanwhile, far across the city, the billionaire's household was in chaos. Mr. Obafemi Adebola, a man whose name was whispered in financial circles with awe, had spent months searching for his missing daughter. The news channels were flooded with reports, the police had been involved, yet the trail had gone cold. Little did he know, the child was alive, cradled by a homeless girl in a shack miles away. Back in the alley, Ayomide faced constant struggles. Neighbors would glare, street thugs would try to take what little she had, and hunger gnawed at her relentlessly. Yet, each day, she found new strength in protecting Ayomide. The city, which had once been a place of hopelessness, became a playground of resilience. Every stolen moment of laughter, every shared morsel of food, every whispered lullaby became a small victory. At night, Ayomide would stare at the sky, imagining a life beyond the trash heaps. She would picture herself walking through grand halls, not knowing that destiny had already begun to notice her. The tiny necklace around Ayridi's neck would catch the moonlight, reflecting a future no one could yet predict. And as the sun rose over Lagos each morning, the invisible struggles of a homeless girl and a forgotten baby continued, two lives intertwined in ways neither could understand, yet destined to collide with wealth, power, and secrets beyond imagination. The world around them was harsh, unyielding, and merciless, but within their little shack, filled with barely enough food and patched walls, a spark had ignited. Hope. Courage. Love. And soon, the world would take notice in ways that would shatter expectations, redefine destinies, and leave hearts stunned. Days turned into nights, and nights into weeks, yet Ayomide never let go of Ayridi. The baby had become the center of her fragile world. Every morning, she scavenged for food with renewed determination, thinking not of herself, but of the tiny life depending on her. Even when her stomach growled painfully, she would give her last morsel to Ayridi, refusing to let hunger steal the baby's strength. One evening, as Ayomide was walking back from a distant trash heap, she noticed a strange figure watching her from the shadows. The man was dressed sharply, though his expression was hidden under a cap. Something about the way he moved, a careful, calculated watchfulness, sent shivers down her spine. She clutched Ayridi closer, heart pounding, unsure if this person was a threat or something else entirely. At home, her mother grew increasingly worried. "Ayomide," she said one night, voice trembling, "this child, she's not like any baby we've seen. Look at her clothes, that tiny necklace. Who left her here?" Ayomide only shook her head, unsure herself. She had found Ayridi in an alley, abandoned and crying. That was all she knew. The mysterious necklace became the focus of their curiosity. It was small, golden, and delicate, with an intricate design that no one on the streets could understand. It sparkled faintly even in the dim light of their shack, as if it held secrets only the right eyes could see. Meanwhile, across the city, Mr. Obafemi Adebola had not stopped searching. The billionaire had employed private investigators, scoured CCTV footage, and even offered rewards for any information about his missing daughter. Every day, the media covered his frantic search, describing the child in detail, her age, a special necklace, even the blanket she had been wrapped in. Yet, the trail had gone cold, until a faint clue appeared. Back in the alley, Ayomide continued her daily routine. But one morning, as she walked through a narrow lane crowded with vendors and stray dogs, a woman stepped out abruptly. She seemed familiar, almost as if she had been waiting. "Excuse me, child," the woman said, voice soft but urgent, "where did you find that baby?" Ayomide froze. The woman's eyes were sharp, searching, and for a moment, Ayomide thought she might take Ayridi away. I found her in the alley near the market," Ayomide stammered. "She was crying. I couldn't leave her." The woman nodded slowly, then leaned closer. "Do you know the significance of that necklace?" she asked. Ayomide shook her head, clutching Ayridi tighter. The woman's gaze softened, but a tension lingered. She whispered something Ayomide barely understood about wealth, loss, and a missing child. Then, just as quickly, she disappeared into the crowd, leaving more questions than answers. That night, Ayomide lay awake, Ayridi in her arms, thinking. Could it be that this baby was important? Could there be more to her than just the fate of abandonment? She didn't know, but her instincts told her one thing: someone powerful was searching for Ayridi, and they would not stop until they found her. Days passed, and little signs began to appear. Strange men in expensive cars, quietly observing the streets. Messages passed in hushed tones by those who frequented the marketplace. Even neighbors whispered about unusual events around their shack, about a baby that seemed destined for something greater. Ayomide, though naive, sensed the change. The world she had known, dirty, chaotic, unforgiving, was slowly bending towards something unimaginable. One morning, as the sun pierced through the haze of the city, a sleek black car stopped near their alley. A driver in uniform stepped out, followed by a sharply dressed man with the unmistakable air of authority. Ayomide instinctively pulled Ayomide closer, hiding behind a pile of old crates. The man looked around, seemingly searching for someone, or something. Ayomide's mother, sensing danger, whispered urgently, "Ayomide, we must be careful. Do not let them see her." But curiosity gnawed at Ayomide. Who were they? Why were they here? And most importantly, were they here for Ayomide? In that moment, the world outside seemed to hold its breath. Every movement, every sound, every heartbeat was amplified in Ayomide's ears. And as she peeked from behind the crates, her eyes met the man's briefly. For a split second, something passed between them, a recognition that neither could explain. Little did Ayomide know, the events of that day would set in motion a series of encounters that would unravel the mysteries of wealth, power, and destiny. The baby in her arms was not just any child, she was a key to an empire, a symbol of hope, and the answer to questions that had haunted boardrooms and mansions for months. And as the sun set over the city, Ayomide made a silent promise. No matter what dangers lay ahead, no matter the threats or the unknown, she would protect Ayomide with every ounce of her being. Because this child, fragile and unaware, had already changed her life, and perhaps, in ways she could not yet imagine, would change the world. Life for Ayomide and Ayomide was never easy, but as the days passed, their bond grew stronger. Every morning, Ayomide woke before dawn, her small frame moving silently through the slums, gathering scraps of food, searching trash heaps, and dodging the dangers of the city. She had learned to navigate the chaos, the shouting vendors, the stray dogs, the unpredictable alleys, but now, with Ayomide in her arms, every step carried more weight, every choice more consequence. The baby's presence had changed Ayomide. She moved with more care, thought more deeply, and carried a hope she had never dared feel before. She imagined a life where hunger wasn't constant, where nights weren't spent shivering under a rusted roof, where a small girl and her baby sister could dream freely. But the city, relentless as ever, refused to yield. One afternoon, Ayomide ventured farther than usual, to a part of the city teeming with high-end shops and glimmering skyscrapers, places she had only seen from afar. She scavenged in the alleys behind these buildings, hoping for discarded food or coins. That's when she noticed a group of well-dressed men observing her from a distance. Their eyes lingered on her and the baby. Ayomide's heart pounded, but she refused to panic. She had survived worse. Slowly, she retreated, hiding Ayomide under her shawl, but the feeling lingered, the sense that someone powerful had begun watching them. Back at the shack, life continued in its precarious rhythm. Ayomide's mother did what she could to keep them fed, but even with both working, the tiny home was always on the brink of collapse. Yet, every night, Ayomide whispered to Ayomide about dreams of a better world. "One day, I promise," she said softly, "we will be safe, and no one will ever hurt you." Meanwhile, the world outside began to stir. Mr. Obafemi Adebola, the billionaire father, had intensified the search for his missing daughter. Private investigators combed through neighborhoods, questioning anyone who might have seen a child with a necklace matching the description in the news reports. Flyers were distributed, and security cameras were scrutinized. Yet, the trail was frustratingly cold. One evening, Ayomide took Ayomide to the market to beg for food. Among the crowded stalls, she noticed a small commotion. A man was showing photographs of the missing heiress to shopkeepers and passers-by. Ayomide froze, recognizing the necklace glinting faintly in the man's hand. Could it be Ayomide? She clutched the baby tightly, heart racing, aware that discovery might be near. Despite the danger, Ayomide refused to give up. She continued scavenging, finding clever ways to stretch their tiny meals, and even sneaking into abandoned buildings to sleep when the shack became unsafe during storms. Each challenge strengthened her resolve. She had become more than a girl surviving on the streets. She had become a protector, a guardian of a secret more powerful than she could yet comprehend. But the city was unforgiving. One evening, as Ayomide returned from scavenging, a group of street thugs cornered her. They demanded the few coins she had collected and reached for Ayomide. Fear gripped her, but Ayomide refused to surrender. She swung her makeshift stick with all the strength her small body could muster, shouting for the baby's safety. The thugs hesitated, surprised by her bravery, and she seized the moment to run into the shadows. That night, as she lay on the cold floor of the shack, she realized something: she was stronger than she had ever imagined, and she would do anything to protect Ayomide. Simultaneously, tension in Mr. Adebola's world escalated. The private investigators had tracked a potential lead, a girl carrying a child matching the heiress description, but the trail had gone cold again. Frustration gnawed at the billionaire. His heart ached with every passing day, torn between fear for his daughter and helplessness against the unknown. Back in their small shack, Ayomide noticed subtle changes. Strangers seemed to watch the alley more frequently, whispers carried through the marketplace about a child matching Ayridi's description, and mysterious gifts began appearing, small bundles of food left outside their door, sometimes coins, sometimes clothes. Who was helping them? And why? Ayomide sensed that the world she had once thought small and harsh was beginning to intersect with a larger, richer reality, one she had never imagined. Ayridi's mysterious necklace seemed to glow faintly under the evening sun, as if hinting at the power it represented, the secret it held. And so, life continued in a delicate balance, the threat of discovery, the thrill of survival, and the growing awareness that destiny was stirring around them. Ayomide had risen from the shadows, but the most dangerous and life-changing moments were yet to come. The journey to reveal the truth about Ayridi, and the vast empire she was heir to, was only just beginning. The city had grown colder, darker, and more dangerous as Ayomide and Ayridi continued their struggle for survival. Each day brought new challenges: street thugs, hunger, and the relentless heat of the sun beating down on their fragile lives. But Ayomide had grown cleverer. She knew the city's hidden corners, the silent alleyways, and the streets where no one dared to follow. Yet, despite all her cunning, she could not escape the invisible pull of destiny that seemed determined to find them. One humid afternoon, as Ayomide scavenged near a bustling market, she noticed a sleek black car parked unusually close. The driver watched her intently, while another man stepped out, scanning the crowd. Ayomide's pulse quickened. She instinctively pulled Ayridi closer, hiding behind a pile of discarded crates. The man's eyes lingered on Ayridi's necklace, and in that instant, Ayomide knew the child in her arms was more than ordinary, more than even she had imagined. Back at the shack, Ayomide and her mother whispered urgently about what to do. The city was no longer just a place of survival, it was becoming a stage for events far beyond their comprehension. Every shadow seemed to carry a secret, every passerby could be a threat or an ally. The tension was almost unbearable. Meanwhile, across the city, Mr. Obafemi Adebola had mobilized his most trusted aides. For months, the loss of his daughter had haunted him, a pain sharper than any business loss or political setback. Now, fresh intelligence had led them closer than ever before. Surveillance cameras had picked up a young girl matching Ayomide's description, carrying a baby with the unmistakable golden necklace. The billionaire's heart raced. Could this be her? Could this fragile child really be his long-lost daughter? As night fell, Ayomide sensed that danger was imminent. That evening, two men approached the shack. They were sharp, professional, and unafraid of the slums. Ayomide froze, shielding Ayridi. One of the men spoke softly but firmly. "We are here to help. We're looking for the child with this necklace. Please, we mean no harm." Ayomide's heart thundered. Could she trust them? Her instincts screamed that she must protect Ayridi at all costs. Yet, a small part of her wanted answers about the mysterious necklace, the stranger's purpose, and why the world seemed suddenly focused on this tiny baby. Reluctantly, she led the men outside, keeping a careful grip on Ayridi. The men showed photographs, documents, and the unmistakable golden necklace she now held in her small hands. Recognition flickered in Ayomide's eyes. This was not a coincidence. Ayridi's true identity was being revealed, piece by piece. But just as the situation seemed under control, danger struck. A rival figure appeared, a woman in a luxury car, furious and impatient. She had been tracking the investigation from the shadows, intending to claim the child for her own purposes. The night erupted in chaos, tires screeched, voices shouted, and Ayomide clutched Ayridi tightly, her small body shaking but resolute. In the commotion, Ayomide realized something vital: her choices had power. Every decision she made could protect Ayridi, or endanger her. With courage far beyond her years, she ran through narrow alleys, ducking behind walls, avoiding the rival woman and her hired thugs. Her heart pounded with fear, but her determination never wavered. She would not let anyone harm the baby she had come to love like a sister. Across the city, Mr. Adebola watched every move via his team's surveillance. He felt a mix of hope and anxiety. Could this girl, this street-smart child, be the protector of his daughter? Could fate really have placed his lost heiress in the hands of someone so unlikely? As the night deepened, the tension reached a breaking point. Ayomide and Ayridi found temporary refuge in an abandoned building, exhausted but alive. Ayomide studied Ayridi, brushing back tiny strands of hair, whispering promises of safety. The baby cooed softly, unaware of the storm raging outside. And in that quiet moment, Ayomide understood something profound: the world she had known, the slums, the trash, the hunger, was no longer the center of her life. A greater world existed, filled with power, wealth, danger, and destiny. And in that world, she and Ayridi were not merely survivors. They were key players in a story that would shake lives, challenge loyalties, and reveal secrets long buried. By dawn, a new plan began to form in Ayomide's mind. She would not be a pawn. She would protect Ayridi, navigate the dangerous path ahead, and confront the forces seeking to control the child's fate. The twist of destiny had arrived, and with it came the promise of a life-altering revelation that neither she nor the world could ignore. As the sun rose over the city, shadows retreated, but the tension remained. The stage was set. The secrets were poised to be revealed. And the story of Ayomide and Ayridi, the homeless girl and the lost heiress, was about to reach a turning point that would leave hearts pounding, breaths caught, and lives forever changed. The city had never felt quieter, yet the tension was almost unbearable. Ayomide clutched Ayridi tightly, every heartbeat echoing the dangers they had faced. But dawn was approaching, bringing with it the promise of resolution. After days of evading threats, navigating the maze of streets, and surviving the chaos of strangers and rivals, the moment of truth had arrived. A convoy of sleek black cars pulled up near the alley where Ayomide had once scavenged for scraps. Out stepped Mr. Obafemi Adebola, the billionaire, flanked by his most trusted aides. His eyes, filled with a mix of grief, hope, and disbelief, scanned the scene until they rested on Ayridi. Time seemed to freeze. The world around them faded, the shouting street vendors, the roaring cars, even the distant city sounds, everything became silent except for the sight of the baby in Ayomide's arms. Mr. Adebola's breath caught in his throat. Could this tiny, fragile child really be his daughter? Ayomide stepped forward cautiously, holding Ayridi closer. She's safe, she said softly. I promise I kept her safe. Mr. Adebola's voice trembled. My daughter, you've kept her safe. Tears welled in his eyes. He knelt, slowly reaching out to take Ayridi, who looked up at him with curious innocence. The moment was fragile, delicate, almost unreal. Ayomide felt a strange mixture of fear and relief. She had done her duty, and now the world's most unimaginable twist was unfolding before her eyes. As the reunion continued, the truth of Ayridi's identity became undeniable. The golden necklace, once a mysterious trinket, now gleamed as a symbol of her heritage. The private investigators' records, the media coverage, every whisper about the lost heiress converged in this single, breathtaking moment. Yet, amidst the joy and relief, a new realization struck Ayomide. Wealth and power could never replace love, courage, and compassion. She had risked everything, not for money, not for fame, but for the life of a tiny human being who needed her. And in doing so, she had shaped destinies, her own, Heiress, and even that of the billionaire. Mr. Adebola, overwhelmed with gratitude and admiration, turned to Ayomide. "You saved my daughter. No wealth, no reward, could ever express what you have done. But I want you and your mother to have everything you need: food, home, education, safety. You deserve it all." Ayomide's eyes widened, but she shook her head gently. I only did what was right. I didn't do it for reward." Her words, honest and pure, seemed to echo louder than any fortune. That day, life changed forever. Ayomide and her mother were brought into a world of safety, comfort, and opportunity, yet the lessons of struggle, resilience, and love remained with them. Heiress thrived, surrounded by those who loved her and guided by a protector who had proven the power of courage and compassion. And the billionaire? He learned something profound too. Wealth and influence could move mountains, but it was human kindness, bravery, and sacrifice that truly shaped destinies. Lesson of the story. This story teaches us several powerful lessons. 1. Courage and compassion outweigh circumstance. Ayomide's bravery and love for Heiress mattered more than her poverty. 2. Selfless acts can change destinies. Protecting someone without expecting reward can create life-altering consequences. 3. True wealth is measured by character, not money. Even a billionaire's fortune cannot replace human kindness, loyalty, and moral integrity. 4. Hope and resilience can rise from the darkest situations. No matter how dire your circumstances, courage and love can create miracles. In the end, miracles are not just for the privileged, they are created by those willing to act with heart, even when the world seems against them.